Welcome to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast. So today we got a really special treat. I've been doing them with Lynn a bit, my wife, and Dr. James's daughter. And so we had an interesting thing come up. Somebody was really struggling with a headache, and it reminded Lynn of something that we do to help with our water and absorbability and headaches and stuff. And so Lynn was like, we should do a podcast on it. And she's like, well, we need to get Jessica involved, because Jessica, not only has she done it, but she continues to do it. We've kind of like let it slip aside or forget about it or whatever. But Jessica's continually done it. And Jessica's one that worked with Dr. James in the clinic for 15 years. She's one of Dr. James's daughters. So she's very well versed in everything we do. And so a lot of you listening probably know Jessica. So we were going to let Jessica kind of like tell you what she's doing now, and then we'll talk a little bit about what to do with your water and how to make it more absorbable.
Awesome. Well, so first, gosh, I love this. I love working with families. So Jim is my brother-in-law, Lynn is my sister, and I got to work with my dad. How spoiled rotten am I? It was awesome. Currently, right now, I had to take a few years after Dad died to find out who I was and what I believed in. Did I believe in this stuff? Did I like working with the clients? Did I just work in the clinic because I was working with my dad? And I found out that I really love what we do. I love every aspect of health and nutrition and the herbs and the vitamins that are sold. It's what I grew up doing. It's what I know. And so I currently am focusing on something called brain integration, which helps with a gazillion things, including ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, dysgraphia, learning disabilities of any kind, helps with adults and children. I'd love to talk more about that another time, but I also still do some herbal consults and dry blood analysis Dad and I used to do in the office, but my focus is brain integration. Reach out though if you have questions otherwise. But yeah, that's kind of me and what I'm doing, working with clients. I'm in the office here from Tuesdays through Saturdays, just varying hours. And I love to see people that I've known from working with Dad, and I love seeing new people. So yeah, that's what I'm up to.
Thanks for sharing. So baking soda water, that's the trick. So Lynn was like, couldn't even remember. She's like, where'd it come from? We just started doing it. So I'm going back. Mom and Dad listened to or read a book by another healthcare practitioner called The pH Miracle. And in The pH Miracle, there was several things, but he talked about balancing your pH. And if you remember, Dr. James quite often said that mold, fungus, yeast, things like that don't grow they grow in an acidic body. So if your pH is in the right place, then those things can't grow and you get health. Yeah. So Jessica just brought up Robert O. Young is the author. And so basically that was kind of like a turning point in Dr. James learning about pH and using it. So he was learning about it. He knew about it, but the pH Miracle really turned on some lights for him and stuff. You remember anything, Jessica?
I do. At the time we were traveling up to Farmington about twice a month. We had clients up there, clinic up there in the office, Wildly Natural, or in the back of it. And I remember them reading the book and us reading the book, and it became life-changing. It also talked about like eating savory breakfasts as opposed to sweet breakfasts, with it helping your pH. It talks about the foods and the food pH. But one of the big things is there are several different minerals that you can use to tweak pH and so on. But baking soda is by far the least expensive, the most readily available. There are no side effects to it. Now, I'm going to say sodium bicarb. Oh my gosh, sodium is such a scary word. Freaks people out, and they're like, oh my gosh, I have too much sodium. I have high blood pressure. I have this. No, there's so many kinds of sodium. Sodium bicarb is not going to mess with your blood pressure, or I'm certain I would have killed myself by now. I remember, though, in traveling up, I have always been prone to urinary tract infections. And I found typically it was around the time that we would be traveling. If I was on the road too much, you drink as little as you can. So you stop as little as you can, I didn't want to have to pee all the time. Farmington was a 3-hour drive from us. And so I would drink as little water as possible and I would get urinary tract infections. After we read this book and we started putting baking soda, I specifically started putting baking soda in my water. I found that honestly, I haven't had a urinary tract infection since then, just because I'm able to travel better. I also do take time to stop and urinate, people. Please hear this. Take time to drink your water. Take time to stop and pee. It is important and it is vital for your health. If you aren't going to take time to drink and you aren't going to take time to pee, you are doing damage. You're causing damage. Whether you feel it now or you feel it later, I promise you'll feel it. Be good to yourself. So I started drinking the water. I actually started absorbing the water that I drank because of the baking soda. And we started recommending it to the clients, and the changes that we saw were phenomenal. With pH, of course, included. My pH right now, we can check my pH and it will be 6.8. It's always 6.8 because I don't drink water without baking soda in it. I have a half-gallon water jug that I carry everywhere, and it always has baking soda. My pH is 6.8. Period. Awesome.
And that's that range that Dr. James always talked about. Wanted in that range for optimal health and stuff.
Right, exactly. If it's too high or it's too low, too high would be like battery acid. No one needs that running through their veins. And then too low would be like oven cleaner. We don't need that running through our veins either. So when you have the neutral, then health can happen and it's more difficult to get sick. Now, don't get me wrong. I do get sick and stuff like that, but it is rare. It's really uncommon. And the times that I have gotten close to getting a urinary tract infection since then, or like an excruciating headache, it's times when I do not have baking soda in my water, whether I'm visiting someone else's home or if I am on a road trip and don't have my baking soda, I'll stop at a gas station to get it. So yeah, it's huge.
It makes me think of things that have been happening with us lately. So I've been still have some kids at home and running them here, there, and everywhere. So you're saying on long trips having to remember to pee.
Mm-hmm.
I have found that even me just running errands around town when I have such a long list and whatever, and public bathrooms are just not my favorite or whatever, I even running my errands have to remember to stop and do that, to drink my water and to stop and use the restroom. Otherwise, I end up not feeling well the next day after a day full of errands, especially during allergy season, because that depletes the water in your system already. You get dehydrated and everything. So if I'm not keeping up with it, then the next day I have to take all sorts of Bladney and my baking soda water and make sure I'm near bathrooms all day long so that I can feel okay and get back on track with that. So it's just absolutely amazing.
That made me think also, there's one thing is when you start drinking baking soda water, can I talk about a ratio here?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start drinking baking soda in your water, there are a few things that I recommend. First off, I recommend 1 teaspoon per gallon, and I recommend starting out with that. So that's a half teaspoon for a half gallon, a quarter teaspoon for a quarter gallon. Any restaurant you stop at, you can buy, it is an 1/8-gallon water bottle. Go to McDonald's, Sonic, any restaurant.
Is that kind of the size of a Costco water bottle?
Yes,
Those ones you buy in the
water
case?
bottle.
Okay.
That's basically 16 ounces, which is 1/8 of a gallon. So you need 1/8 of a teaspoon.
That's just kind of a thick pinch, right?
Pretty much a thick pinch. That's right. Now, I do keep a teaspoon or 1/8 of a teaspoon on my keychain, and I have a half teaspoon here in my office, and everywhere else I go, I have baking soda in all different kinds of containers so that I can have it readily available. So that's the ratio. But I want to tell you first off, it's going to taste like Arrowhead water, which Arrowhead, if you're listening, it's disgusting. Fix it.
But some people love Arrowhead water. If they love Arrowhead water, they're not going to have any problem with baking soda in their water.
If they love it, there's something wrong with them. Schedule an appointment with me. No, it's just, so it's not terrible, but and so the way you can do it is add the same amount of baking soda. So 1 teaspoon per gallon. But then if you drink it ice cold, when it is ice cold, you do not taste that flavor. So it took me 1 week to get used to it. And my experience when I was a child, the only time I would have baking soda in my mouth was when my mom needed me to vomit because I was sick. She would put baking soda on a spoon with just enough water to turn it into like peanut butter sludge. That was my experience. And so starting to drink this water, I wanted desperately to love it. But the baking soda I imagined in my head, and I know it was in my head, it just kind of would make me gag. So drinking it cold though, I could not taste it at all. There was no gagging, no yucky flavor. It didn't even taste like Arrowhead. It was really, really good. And then I slowly started making it to where it was closer and closer to room temperature, to where now I can drink it and it is all I love. It is so satisfying. So start out with the proper portions. So 1 teaspoon per gallon. Start out with it cold if you would like to learn to love it. May I encourage you to learn to love it because it's so, so good for you. It will break down the molecules of the water so that it permeates through the cell walls more readily, and you're actually able to absorb it and utilize it. Have you ever drank so much water that you can shake a little bit and you can feel it jiggling in your tummy?
Like a bowl full of jelly?
Yes. Yes, like the Santa effect. And so I used to do that. I'd be so dehydrated. My kidneys would hurt so bad. And so I would drink just regular water before I knew about baking soda. And I could jiggle and I could feel it in my tummy. And you feel waterlogged, but still thirsty at the same time sometimes. I have not experienced that even one time since drinking baking soda water. Not one time, because it breaks down the molecules and you absorb everything. Now, some people are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pee so much. Okay, your body might be getting used to absorbing water and you might pee like a pregnant lady for a week. Wear a diaper if you must. It's not that bad. You're just going to have to actually get used to peeing instead of abusing yourself. And it's going to be for about a week, maybe 2, that you're going to be urinating a little more. But that's also because you're going to be eliminating some of the toxins that can just sit in your kidneys waiting for release. The baking soda is going to help you be able to release those toxins through your urine. So for the first 1-2 weeks, maybe you might be urinating a little bit more.
Well, but I remember Dad or somebody, you guys had a client one time, or maybe a few clients, that if they were chronically dehydrated already, they were on the edge of a kidney or bladder infection all the time anyway. So they were peeing constantly. Yes. That they actually said that they started drinking baking soda water and actually had to make less trips to the bathroom. Correct. Because it helped to alleviate whatever strain that was on the bladder that was making them have to feel like they had to go constantly. So it can work.
That's right.
In opposite for some people.
Right. So basically it's going to normalize your urinary tract, and there actually is a norm for it, just like with any other body function. So you could pee a little more. You might find that you absorb the water readily enough that you don't urinate as much, but give some adjustment time because it's going to be a little bit different, but it's incredibly soothing to the urinary tract over time. But recognize if you do feel a little different, you're doing something different. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's a really good thing. I remember for our family, we started drinking the baking soda water because Jim was having kidney issues at the time. So we started it for kidney issues and for bladder and just to balance our pH with some health issues we were having. But one of the side effects we ended up noticing was absolutely amazing. Way back when, I don't even know what year that was, my family was prone to migraines, like headaches. Jim would get them 2 or 3 times a week, where he just had to sleep it off so that he could feel better. But my kids had started doing the same thing. We would have at least 1 or 2 kids a week that had a headache once or twice a week and stuff. And that was it was part of life. And we were just dealing with it, thinking it was allergies or whatever. Well, drinking the baking soda water actually made those headaches go away. So they may have been involved in dehydration or whatever other things that the baking soda helps with. But I remember shortly after that, like probably a year after we started, we went on a trip. And like you said, we don't always have access to our system of how we usually do our water and how we usually do everything. And a few days in, everybody started getting headaches again. And I was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Why are we getting headaches? Because it was a few days in a row that somebody had a headache and stuff. And then I realized, oh, wait. We've been traveling and we have not been putting baking soda on our water. We were drinking the Costco water bottles. and not adding baking soda to that water. So we started immediately. We went and we found baking soda and we started putting it in our water. And within a few hours, the headaches were gone and we were able to do the rest of the trip without any headaches from not having that in our water. So I definitely have a testimony of that and the headaches that plagued my family.
Right. Can I tell you something funny?
Yeah.
With you talking about traveling and everything and the baking soda, it used to be when I first started out drinking the baking soda in my water, learning the importance of it, keeping it in the car and stuff. I actually, because I always have a 1/2-gallon water jug with me everywhere I go, I take these cute little bags that you can buy like from Hobby Lobby for jewelry. Just
made your own
ones.
ketchup packets of baking soda.
Yeah, I did. I would measure out a 1/2 teaspoon and put in this cute little bag. And so I had these little baggies of a white substance, a powder in my car. And so that I could, for convenience, just dump it. And it didn't cross my mind until I thought I was getting pulled over. But no, someone got pulled over in front of me. And I thought, if they pulled me over and they see my baking soda in a little baggie on my seat, this could be bad. So may I suggest you don't use a baggie. I now have it in like a spice jar labeled baking soda in my car with a teaspoon.
Just in case.
Don't do the baggies. Just in case it looks suspicious.
You don't want to have to wait for the results to come back from the science, whoever it is that does that testing when you get pulled over. They call it it's not a hazmat team. What is that? That big truck with the stuff on the side that the police, the drug testing thing.
Right? Crime scene. Oh.
Wouldn't that be crazy? That would hit the news. Pulled over for baking soda. Oh, that would be crazy. Okay, so something else I am wondering, I've seen, I can't remember what doctor it is talking about it, that adding salt to your water, so like Himalayan salt or Celtic salt or something, is baking soda water the same thing as doing salt in your water? What do you know about that?
That's an awesome question. The doctor is, and I'm sorry, she's not a doctor. Her name is Barbara O'Neill. She is an Australian
naturopath, I believe.
She was a naturopath. She's wonderful and valid, and she would have been a contemporary of Dad's, of Dr. James's, because they teach and preach the same things. So there is a time and a place for salt in your water, both Celtic salt and Himalayan salt. They will have different purposes, and both of them can be very beneficial. They're really good for electrolytes. And so if someone isn't, let's say, heat stroke or sunstroke, athletes, things like that, you're working out, then having salt in your water would be fabulous. And it'd be better than having any Powerade or Gatorade, people. That stuff is garbage. The concentrate will eat straight through 2-inch stainless steel in a matter of a month. So don't drink that. Make your own. Celtic salt is really great, or pink Himalayan to make an electrolyte drink, but that's not what we're talking about today. The baking soda is going to balance the pH of the water. It does help you absorb so much better. I would use them in conjunction, like together if you need, but here's the thing. I don't actually put salt in my water unless if I'm doing something specific. Maybe we can talk about that another time if necessary. The way I would use Celtic salt is if, let's say, you're on your road trip, you guys all have the headache, and you weren't, within a few hours, you guys were starting to feel better with the baking soda water. If you wanted to cut that time down, the absorption rate time, you could put a tiny pinch of the salt in your mouth. Then it's absorbed, and it has minerals inside of it that are very water hungry. So then had you put that tiny bit of salt in your mouth first, and it's absorbed and dissolved, then you drink the baking soda water. The water is then sucked into the tissues more quickly because those minerals that are water hungry are sucking it in. It wants it quickly. So those headaches, let's say the lag time between drinking the baking soda water and the headache going away was 4 hours. Maybe it could be 3 hours if you put a little pinch of either Celtic or Himalayan salt in your mouth. And both of those are quality. But baking soda, Celtic salt does not take the place of baking soda. Okay. Baking soda does not take the place of Celtic salt.
Okay.
Himalayan, same thing.
Well, really funny thing to add to that, okay, has anybody ever had a salt lamp? Those look like they are made of pink salt. So,
Your lamp.
so I live in New Mexico right now, but we moved to Oregon for a while. When I bought a salt lamp in New Mexico, I read the tag on it and laughed. It has this tag that says set it on something because it can drip and ruin your furniture. So I had it for 5 years, 7 years. I always kept it on a plate or something so it would not drip. And I never had a drip from that salt lamp. I thought they were crazy. I couldn't figure out why they roll like that. Well, I took said salt lamp to Oregon with me and I sat it on its plate and whatever. Oh my goodness. Lo and behold, a little bit later, I walk in there and I'm like, what happened to my salt lamp? It was oozing all over the place on that thing. But the really funny part is we had some grandkids with us visiting or staying or something. One of them loved to lick my salt lamp. He thought that was, like a cow licking block or a rabbit licking stone or whatever. I have no idea if that's any good kind of salt or something totally fake. I don't know. But it was pretty funny that he would lick my salt lamp that dissolved in the humidity.
So you brought half of that lamp back?
I don't even remember if I brought it back because I was so worried that I was going to ooze.
Set it with the grandkids.
Something. It just, I was absolutely shocked. So in New Mexico, it doesn't do that. But in other places, it just totally, it blew my mind. Blew my mind.
So if you dust properly, you can just lick your lamp instead of using the
probably. So having lamps around your house is food storage.
Run out of salt and take your lamp and grate it.
Use the little nutmeg grater.
Yeah, use your little nutmeg grater and grate your salt lamp.
Awesome. So these are some wonderful tips, great things to share. Is there anything else you guys, like we talked about headaches, bladder, kidney, measurement again, 1 teaspoon per gallon?
Yep.
Or what?
So what kind of baking soda? The only one I know of is just the orange Arm & Hammer container.
I don't care.
Okay.
Now baking powder is the one that can have.
Oh, we accidentally did that once. Right. Do not put baking powder in your water. I was trying to figure out, okay, guys, what happened? Why is our water cloudy at this moment? And they're like, we put the baking soda in like we were supposed to. No, because we had 5-gallon jugs. So they had put a tablespoon and 2 teaspoons in a 5-gallon jug of baking powder.
Oh,
that did not taste. You think baking soda tastes bad. That was really weird. And you don't feel the same at all. So don't do that. So I've since made it so that in my cabinet, I always have some kind of orange label on my baking soda and an orange lid and whatever I can do to make that orange, because I buy bulk baking powder and it goes in containers too. And that's always some other color besides orange, because I need my kids to never mix that up again. Because that's,
you can buy any kind of baking soda. Arm & Hammer is the most common, but you can buy any one. It's going to be inexpensive.
Read your labels for any additional ingredients.
Yes.
You want sodium bicarbonate and
Period.
That's it.
That's exactly right. I would like to mention one other thing, and that is that I used to be prone to urinary tract infections, frequent from the time I was young. And I didn't know why, because I didn't know that. I thought everyone lived like that. And I didn't vocalize it to my dad, the naturopathic medical doctor, just because I didn't know there was an issue. I seriously thought it was just something everyone dealt with. When I started drinking the baking soda water, again, I haven't had a urinary tract infection since then, which is huge because I've had some debilitating ones. Blood in the urine and horrible low back pain, the pain in the front. I've had it all. So I haven't had it. But I want you to know that many people are going to, they might doubt, they might use it for a little while. But I will be faithful to this forever and for always, because I have had no pain, no issues, no urinary tract problems at all. I also have no buildup in my arteries, no high blood pressure, I don't have any issues. And I have been drinking baking soda in my water constantly for at least 15 years, 16 years, something like that. And so I think that counts. I think that matters. Yeah, I just want to tell you, long term, you might end up like me, and it's pretty awesome.
That is wonderful.
You aren't going to hurt.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your guys' insights and knowledge. It's been wonderful, and we will see you guys on the next episode.
Woo-hoo.
It is not the intent of professional herbal instruction or any persons associated therewith to diagnose or prescribe. The intent is only to offer herbal information for your consideration. In the event you use this information without your doctor's approval, you are prescribing for yourself, which is your God-given right. But professional herbal instruction or any persons associated herewith assume no responsibility. The claims and statements made on this podcast have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.